Good morning. It is my honor to welcome Honorable Dr. Swati V. Kulkarni, Consul General of India from Consulate General of India, Atlanta office. Thank you, ma'am. Honored to welcome for the first time Honorable Alex Candler, Deputy Consul General of Consulate General of Israel to the Southeast USA. Thank you for joining us, sir. And also for the first time, second time, welcoming Honorable Alfred John, Chairman of the Board for Forsyth County Board of Commissioners as our distinguished guest. With this, I would request Honorable Swati Kulkarni to give her remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Ani. When he starts calling me, I know that it's a time for forum. So it's always a pleasure to attend your event every year. I'm doing it without fail. So good to see all of you. Warm greetings to all of you. Now the winter is coming in, and so see, this is unique year for India because we have completed 75 years of independence, and we are celebrating it hugely. And everyone, Indians here and abroad, they are celebrating it as patriotic power, and we are celebrating glorious history of progressive India. In Hindi, we call it Azadi Ka Amrit. So that's how we are celebrating. And another important milestone is there, and that is we have completed 75 years of India-US diplomatic ties. So that's yet another milestone, which is a significant one. And we all are out of now the shadow also of pandemic, the worst pandemic which we ever saw. So India managed this pandemic very well. It's one of the fastest emerging economy in the world. So India has already crossed, current GDP terms, $3.1 trillion in 20. And we will become a 5 trillion economy by mostly 2027 and 10 trillion economy by the end of the decade. So today we have overtaken UK to become the 5th largest economy, and we are marching ahead very, very fast and poised to become 3rd largest economy and a 3rd largest stock market by end of the decade. Recent Morgan Stanley report says that India is booming. So it's a bright spot to do the business. And why? Because consistently India has shown 7%. After pandemic also, we registered more than 7% growth, and it was because of the robust agricultural sector and a rebound, which is a sharp rebound of manufacturing, our construction and services sector. So this is a bright spot as far as you want to do business in India. And why it's happening? Why India is such a bright spot? Because it has a thriving. And what I mean by that we have a young demographic, and I can give you certain highlights why we are a thriving ecosystem. So we have a young demographic. 50% of the population is below 25 years, and 65% of population is below 35. So maiden age for Indians is 29. And that is really important because it provides workforce as well as a market. And they are the harbingers of new skills, new technologies, and they are so quick to grasp those nuances of emerging innovation and technology. That is one. Then second, we do have a huge middle class is 400 million plus, and we have a critical mass of people who speak English. That's really good. And the skilled people, we have medical professionals, all those people. Then second important aspect, this is the demographics, but the second important aspect we have is, our government some few years back, it ushered in a JAM Trinity evolution. What is JAM? JAM is a Janadhana Yojana, that is banking for all. So today, more than 85% of people in India have banking. Then we have Aadhaar. Aadhaar is a biometric, and 1.2 billion people are holding this biometric identity card in their hand. And mobile, of course, is in hand of each and every one. So this trinity has created a profound impact in the way the government deals with people and the way the people do their own personal and commercial lives. In India, you will be amazed to know that in 2020, last year, we have done 50 billion plus online payment transactions. And the mobile data is very cheap in it. It is just $0.09 per GB as against $8 in US or $1.4 in UK. So it's very cheap. Even the remotest man in India will have mobile. And he does a business on mobile through Paytm, Google Pay, and all. So it has a revolutionized how you do business in India. So credit card, debit cards, all are relegated to the background. So in India, the another third aspect of it is that we have a huge diaspora. We have 30 million plus diaspora, and they have created huge knowledge network, skill network. That also is helping India because these people are investing back in India because we saw the IT revolution precisely due to that. And today we are at the cusp of medical revolution because we have already emerged as a pharmacy of the world. We already are back office of the world, and now we will become factory of the world. So these are really amazing times for India, and it's a once in a generation shift which India is showing. So please do business with India because opportunities are too many. As far as India-US bilateral trade is concerned, we have we are there. The goods and services trade is almost $160 billion, and this is without FTA, without any trade deal. That's really great. And the India and Southeast region is concerned, again the trade figures are really good. The bilateral merchandise trade figures in 2019 were something around $12 billion we were doing business. And during COVID, we just did $10.8 billion. And now it has sharply rebounded. And in 2021, we did business of $14.3 billion. And in the first, this is calendar year, I'm speaking about January to December. And this year, from January to August, we have already registered $12 billion of business. So by the end of the year, I'm anticipating it will become $18 billion. So it's a huge, huge growth, which percentage wise can translate beyond. So as far as India and Georgia is concerned, we really are moving ahead because there are very good complementarities as far as agriculture sector is concerned, manufacturing is concerned, fintech is concerned, the film and TV industry is concerned. So there are boundless opportunities in this sector also, and I'm not surprised, and that's why Senator Ossoff went to India and saw that Georgia is on pretty well established and entrenched as far as business is concerned. Then we as a consulate also work very hard for having direct flight connection between India and Georgia, and we are working on this path with Hartsfield-Jackson Airport. And the first beginning we are making is to have a cargo link between India and Georgia, and so that the region can benefit from it. And then we can go ahead under that MOU to have a passenger link, because of course these are commercial considerations, the demand and supply that will make sure that how things happen. But we are at least pushing those competent people on either side to do this happen, to make it happen. Then the second thing which we are working, which we thought we should have a bank here in Atlanta. And we tried very hard to have Bank of Baroda, but somehow that didn't work out. Now we are seeing that ICICI, they are looking for various options how to open a bank here, and hopefully that will fructify. So the other important thing is we want to have a trade office of Georgia, and we were after Mr. Jones and other political dignitaries here to have a trade office of Georgia in India, so that there will be laser focus on how to do this. And hopefully the next, now that midterms are over, hopefully next session will focus on India to do something on those lines, because Indians Indian Americans in Atlanta have grown also. Many people from New York and others are coming to Atlanta because of a good weather. So that is another positive factor, and we will rely on you to push it there in the gold under the Golden Dome. So that's another area which we really focus. So there are boundless opportunities. There are so many unexplored terrains where we can do a good business. So I'm happy that Team UIBS and the Georgia Tech Forum year after year are doing this important event that provides a platform again to brainstorm, to network, and it's a vital catalyst for exploring those possible opportunities so that we both, the India, Georgia, and the region and the USA, can have win-win agenda. So I again applaud the team UIBS for doing this event. Thank you.
Good morning, Shalom. Shalom, everyone. I'm honored to be here today. I would like to thank the Honorable John Ossa for giving a word, Honorable Dr. Swati Kulkarni, Honorable Alfred John, Mr. Ani Agintori, Mr. John McIntyre, all the honorable guests and speakers to come during this fascinating forum. It is an honor to take part in this program with you. Israel, India, and the United States, together we all work to strengthen our countries and societies. We are committed to striving for a better future while addressing global challenges together. On July 14th, 2022, the heads of government of India, Israel, the United Arab Emirates, and the United States convened for the First Leaders Summit of the I2U2 group. This unique grouping of countries aims to harness the vibrancy of their respective societies and entrepreneurial spirits to tackle some of the greatest challenges confronting the world, with a particular focus on joint investment and new initiatives in water, energy, transportation, space, health, and food security. These challenges, among others, are some of the biggest endeavors to be taken by any nation alone in the polarized world we're seeing form today. That is the why for the creation of the I2U2. These multinational corporations that are taking shape around the world are a startup approach to problem solving, a creation of multilateral high-tech incubators to fuel creativity and innovation by mobilizing state resources along with private sector actors and capital to tackle our common challenges. The I2U2 held its inaugural summit 2 years after the historic signing of the Abraham Accords by Israel, the United Arab Emirates, and Bahrain. 2 years later, and we're seeing the fruits of this one peace. Israel, along with its partners in the I2U2 group, India, the United Arab Emirates, and the United States, have decided to work together at first taking food security and clean energy. Regarding food security, the UAE, home to the International Renewable Energy Agency and host of COP28 in 2023, will invest $2 billion to develop a series of integrated food parks across India that will incorporate state-of-the-art climate-smart technologies to reduce food waste and spoilage, conserve fresh water, and employ renewable energy sources. The group will provide the land, the funding, and the private sector expertise to promote the creation of the parks. The I2U2 group will advance a hybrid renewable energy project in India's Gujarat state, consisting of 300 megawatts of wind and solar capacity, complemented by a battery energy storage system. Israel and the United States intend to work with the UAE and India to highlight private sector's opportunities in the project. This will contribute to India's goal of achieving 500 gigawatts of non-fossil fuel capacity by 2030. Such projects have the potential to make India a global hub for alternate supply chains in the renewable energy sector. These mutual undertakings will and are reshaping geopolitics and global economics. The Middle East, that just a decade ago seemed as one of the world's unsolvable questions, is shaping up to be one of its greatest answers. The cooperation between the Gulf states, Israel, India, and the United States is blossoming to be an air bridge to stability across one of the most volatile regions of the world. This forum, among others that are happening around the world, is part of the thread that is helping to strengthen these important relationships and to show tangibles that come from ever strengthening ties between our nations. I wish to thank you and offer you the best of luck to this important forum. Thank you very much. We're all also celebrating our 75th year this year. Our countries have been born on the same year. We're also celebrating 75 years of diplomatic relations with the United States. Wish us all good luck with the celebration. It's an endeavor all by itself. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable. We really appreciate your remarks and hope to work with your offices for our future events also. With this, we'll move to Honorable Alfred John, Chairman of the Board of Forsyth County Board of Commissioners. Mr. John.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. And I would like to offer my gratitude to the organizers for the invitation and for the extraordinary effort which you've expended to put this event together. My warm regards, as always, to the Consul General of India. It's a pleasure to be with you, and greetings to the Deputy Consul General of Israel. It is an honor to be with you at this forum. I was elected to the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners in 2020 and currently serve as the board chairman. But it was only a few decades ago that I followed the dream of many Indian-born, such as myself, who immigrated to the U.S. My parents sought new opportunities, and I came along with them. But I didn't know much about opportunities. I was just a kid that was fascinated by words like boulevard and turnpike. Those are foreign words to me. And then, of course, the fantastic cuisine that is known as McDonald's. So here we are. Many years later, my wife and I found opportunities in the state of Georgia, and we moved here in 2002. And we found this little haven called Forsyth County, which not many had heard of. And even to this day, I would propose that it is a gem that not many know of. Combination of natural beauty and a friendly, welcoming population drew me to that place. And 20 years on, I still call it home. Candidly, it reminds me of my home state in India, of Kerala. The topography, the green. Forsyth County is the second fastest growing county in the state of Georgia, and it's currently home to about 260,000 residents. In the last 2+ decades, it has distinguished itself. Now, why do I use the word distinguished? Well, let's start with the basics. The hallmark of a great community is safety. And we pride ourselves on the fact that we have a very low violent crime rate throughout the state of Georgia. That is a big draw for residents, but also businesses. We also have one of the best rated school systems in Georgia with a graduation rate of almost 97%. 2 of the top 10 high schools in the state of Georgia are in Forsyth County. And as you might imagine, that also then draws the brightest and most successful families who want to call Forsyth County home. This year, Lambert High School's team of students won the well-renowned iGEM competition, beating 350 mostly college and some high school teams from around the globe. If you haven't heard of iGEM, if you're not familiar with it, do look it up. It is the International Genetically Engineered Machine Foundation, which focuses on the field of synthetic biology. Now, that is the caliber of our students, and our schools have programs in mechatronics, engineering, advanced science, cybersecurity, aerospace, and drone technology, among others. Now, these students are a reflection of the parents, many of whom are professionals in the world of technology, science, and business. Forsyth County is also home to a satellite campus of University of North Georgia, which in and of itself has an exceptional cybersecurity program. UNG recently broke ground on an expansion, which is a second building, and it is our hope that the programs and offerings will continue to grow with the community. And as you can tell, education is clearly a focus and driver for our community. I will also say that deep in my heart, I have this desire to have a satellite campus of Georgia Tech. So we will continue that conversation. In the last 7 to 10 years or so, Forsyth County has seen an influx of people of Indian birth or origin. The vast majority of these are tech professionals, many of whom own their own companies or are in senior leadership roles in various national and multinational companies. They are now woven into the society of Forsyth County. And I say they, but I should say we. We pride ourselves in our diversity and our governance. The county has a AAA bond rating, which speaks to the overall financial health, but the financial health of the residents is just as important. Now, during the COVID years, we were not quite as affected by joblessness due to the professional roles which allowed many residents to work. Forsyth County is also proud to be in the heart of the Georgia Technology Corridor, which spans the length of 6 exits along Georgia 400. This was recently established and recognized by the state of Georgia, and it's a distinguished designation and a rather easy one to recognize when over 700 tech companies are located in this area. Just in my area alone, Siemens, a German company, Solvay, which is a Belgian company, L3 Harris, and LGMRI have all established themselves in Forsyth County. They figured out that you want to be located where there's an abundance of talent. When you have a highly educated population, majority of whom are college educated, it creates a great pool of talent. Forsyth County has seen an explosion of growth in commercial development in the last few years, especially in the light industrial flex commercial space, and there is no dearth of tenants. Hundreds of thousands of square feet of space have already been built and fully occupied, and currently there's one development with close to 1 million square foot of space going vertical. The interest in flex space is driven by light manufacturing and R&D combined with office space. Forsyth County is open for business. Currently, I'm working with developers on 4 to 5 projects through its land use entitlements and zoning. If all 4 go up together, we are looking at over $500 million in capital investment. We are no longer the little engine that could. We are the big train that's shuffling along. Forsyth County has been very open and receptive to commercial development, and some projects receive a preferred designation, which entitles it to concierge service and attention. One of these, which is under development, is so impressive that the Consul General herself of Israel, Ms. Anat Sultan Dadon, met with the developer and me to understand more about the project, and also gave us some great insights and ideas. Existing industry is also looking at expanding its current footprint in Forsyth County, whether expanding current operations, merging business units under one roof, or relocating headquarters to Forsyth County. The decision is made easier by the business climate there and an overall quality of life. As I mentioned earlier, many residents who are Indian have companies and employ a number of people in India. So often they travel to India as well as other countries in Europe and elsewhere, both to maintain and also foster growth of their business. In true entrepreneurial spirit, many have delved into commercial development both locally and abroad. While we have access to that level of talent, it is incumbent upon us in leadership to nurture it and explore ways to grow commerce between the 2 nations. Similarly, we have also engaged with other nations such as Germany and Belgium and remain open and receptive to partnerships around the globe. Whether it is the Board of Commissioners of Forsyth County, the school system, the county administration, the Chamber of Commerce, the Development Authority, we all stand ready to support your business needs and initiatives. I look forward to welcome you and to hosting you in Forsyth County. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We are very proud of you in your position as an Indian entrepreneur. You have switched your role, and I personally see that you have a long way ahead. Look forward to working with you. With this, I have few minutes here, and as a session moderator, I would like to ask you questions, starting with ma'am. First of all, I'd like to share with you the reason we have only two podiums here, because we have a lot of issues with the audio video of this building, which is very old, and a lot of interference, especially when we are zooming it out. So our mixer can only, because it's a very old building, the wiring is very old, also cannot handle new generation of wiring. So that's why you're sharing this mic. I thought I'll share it with you. Ma'am, the title of this summit is Digital Transformations and Disruptions. And we all have come out from COVID pandemic the last 2 years. And I would like to hear from you your assessment of how India handled the disruption which COVID caused as a country.
See, the pandemic was really just came from nowhere. So nobody knew that pandemic will hit us. Having said that, India already prepared itself as far as the infrastructure which was required to transition from, when the pandemic hit, when we wanted to go digital. The infrastructure was already there, which we never thought it will come so handy during the pandemic. The vision of our leaders, the foresight with which they have engaged with our population, it helped us. And the way I always share with you the JAM Trinity, that is the bank account for the vulnerable people also, the Aadhaar and the mobile. This Trinity really helped India to tackle this pandemic, to mitigate the effects of this. Because I tell you one example. In India, we have to give cash benefits to the people. It used to go through a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of middlemen. With the digital ecosystem in place, and when the pandemic hit, the government of India could give cash benefits to people directly without. So 400 million people received the cash benefits at the click of button. So that's so amazing. And the 800 million people received food, the free food which was given by government to people, which those during the lockdown period. So the ecosystem was there already, and which came really useful to the hands of government, and the way we deal with people and how we transfer the benefits and things like that. So in India, it has really has a profound impact, and it has the digital thing that this is giving direct benefits, but also education. Also. Online education systems were already in place. So those things I can go on and on for various examples, but the ecosystem was there. The bottom line is that the infrastructure was in place, and it was very easy for government to transition during the pandemic, utilize it to the benefit of people. That's how we tackled it comprehensively with whole government approach, and came out of it the way the businesses could cope up.
My question now to Honorable Alex Candler, sir, is yesterday the world reached a population point of 8 billion people. Israel has 0.01 population of it's about 8 million. When I visited 8, maybe 9, right? So with 0.01% population of the world, what is the USP in small country like Israel to be so innovative, so tech savvy, and my country, USA as well as India, has a lot of relationships, growing relationships. So what is so unique about Israel, and what do you think in next 75 years you would be?
So firstly, Thank you for the question. It allows me to talk about my country. It's always a good thing. While I was listening to the Consul General, she was mentioning numbers such as 400 million and 800 million. In Israel, we don't speak of these numbers. We speak in hundreds of thousands. Israel is about 9.4, 9.5 million, but not too far from the numbers you were talking about. It's a very small country, the size of New Jersey here in the United States. We hear a lot about Israel punching above its weight in many fields, specifically economy and infrastructure and innovation, startup nation. There are many reasons for it. Mostly based on the fact that we are born out of scarcity. We have to fight for our role and place, both within the borders that we live in and also within the global market. Out of those scarcities, we have to innovate. We come from a country where there are no natural resources. There is no way for us to produce or manufacture and grow to scale like other countries. Our borders around us, just until recently, were borders we couldn't export to. Everything came by a boat, went by a boat or a plane, and it always traveled westwards. Speaking to an acquaintance, a person I met a couple of weeks ago, a prominent Israeli lawyer that came to Atlanta, and he told me the story about how he first flew to the UAE. As I said, we're 2 years past the Abraham Accords. And he tells the story of how the plane takes off from Ben Gurion International Airport next to Tel Aviv, and as always, flies towards the sea to the west, and then does something very unexpected to every Israeli. Does a U-turn and goes to, flies to the west, and then does a U-turn and turns to the east. For Israelis, and I haven't been living in Israel for the past 5 years, so I couldn't take advantage that it is miraculous. When I flew to India, and I did fly to India, I had to go through Russia, through St. Petersburg. So I had to fly to Moscow, fly up north, and then go to the east. We could not fly through Saudi Arabia, through the UAE, Bahrain, and now we can. Going back to the point of scarcity and punching above our weight, because of those restrictions that we had to develop a market that it could self-sustain itself with technology. That is what we do. We develop technology, we export that technology, be it fintech, cyber, agri-tech, data science, other computer sciences. We deal with brains. That what connects us to India as well. I think that is one of the big connectors. And, Prime Minister Netanyahu, Prime Minister Modi met in Israel and then in New Delhi years later, what they were talking about is technology. That is the big connector that we have, and that's what connects us to the world and allows us to be such a major player, especially in this data age. We made the right investment at the right time to develop technology, research and development, and invest in research and development twice as much as any other OECD country. And that's what's brought us forward, especially in this age.
Thank you, sir. And my question to Chairman John is that in your remarks, very well put together, you mentioned that you are the second fastest growing county in Georgia. As a chairman of the county, what would be your vision and plan to make it number one?
So I would suggest that, if you compare us to Bryan County, which is number one, it's a very small county, so they, grow even incrementally, they would be number one. So I would propose to you that we are number one. So, but that said, we continue to create the right environment. Right? in my role, there's politics and then there's policy. It's wiser to focus on policy and not much. Because what happens is that engenders trust in government. And then we also ensure that there's a lot of transparency. So whether it's with residents, whether it's with the business community, often, residents say that, we represent the residential community because they're the voters. But I actually say that we represent not just that, but, not just them, but also the business community because they're as much of a constituent as us. So I make it a point to regularly meet with both business leaders, industry leaders, sometimes even over a cup of coffee, right? It's a casual conversation to say, okay, what can we do to foster growth? And managing that growth is just as important as well. What you don't want is to grow beyond the infrastructure. In the county, I would say probably a good 95% of the county has broadband. So that again brings talent, it brings business interest as well. So that those are the vision.
Thank you. I have a few minutes here, so I'll open up the floor here. If you have any questions to our leaders here, any question, please raise your hand. Go ahead, sir.
So first of all, it's an alliance, and I mentioned changes in geopolitics and in economy, global economy. First of all, economy and connections is defense. When you build that air bridge, I mentioned that from the United States to Israel to the UAE and then to India, pretty much traverse the entire globe. It's the western side of the globe and really the eastern part to the Quad, as you said. There are other alliances, of course, that are operating both in the region and outside of the region, with Israel within it or without it. For us, a lot is security, of course. When it comes to protecting Israel and Israel being part of these groups, Visegrad and Eastern Europe, the ITU2. There's the alliance within the Aegean countries that we do as well. Most of the conversations are economic. Economy drives relationships. If you don't have the economic relationship, then you're hanging by your fingernails. The economic relationship deepens other relationships, especially the strategic defense relationship. Firstly and foremost, it is an economic relationship. As I said, aerospace, agriculture, energy, infrastructure. These are strategic issues, especially when it comes to talking about a country like India. We're talking about one of the big superpowers of the world, specifically regarding amount of people, as we've spoken, a huge infrastructure project that allows, as you said, Consul General, to transfer goods around the world. You talked about India being the pharmacy of the world. Absolutely, there's so much potential, both in the size of India and the amount of people that are in India and the brain power that is in India. So for us Israelis, that is for sure a great ally to have. Same as the UAE, which is a regional power within the Gulf and developing itself to be an even bigger regional power. Israel, which is a regional power within the Middle East. Of course, the United States, which is a superpower. The economic connections between that group and the development that it can create will also provide stability. And that was what I was talking about regarding the Middle East being a region of question and the I2U2 being an answer.
So I want to add what my colleague said. See, the Quad is not necessarily a military alliance. Quad, we have India, USA, Australia, and Japan. All are democracies. We are there together to have the rule of law, the peace, the propagation of these important international values. And I will give you a good example where we already started cooperating during the pandemic also. That India does have a capacity to develop any vaccine. So it was thought that Japan will give the money and Australia will give also their input as far as monetary things are concerned. And all four will export that vaccine to Africa and other countries. So these sort of what we call in technology terms clouding sort of things, where people come together and do things where everybody can give their, or share their expertise. Like let's say India has a frugal innovation. India, you are aware that we have much frugal innovation and how much knowledge economy we have. We have skilled people in. So how that can be utilized to the global good. So that's how these groupings are, and that's how it helps. And I2U2 again, it's a good example where expertise of each one is, you can say, exploited for furthering this global. That's how I2U2 again, the Israel giving its technology. And by the way, India and Israel are also celebrating 30 years of diplomacy. So that's yet another milestone we have. So how we utilize that expertise and share it with for the commons and for everybody. It's again a win-win agenda for all the countries who are part of that.
Thank you, ma'am. I thank everybody here in the panel and appreciate your participation and support for coming up with some exciting ideas and topics, and look forward to staying in touch with you for our future discussions. Thanks a lot.